What's good with the YouTube? You already know. Real Talk with Flacco coming live and direct. And on this platform, what do? We dive into sensitive issues, delicate matters concerning prison, gangs, recidivism, as well as addiction. And you already know it's Big Flacco with a convict's perspective. Smash, dash, and slide on through with a little bit of energy. And I got a special guest today, man. He always has a whole lot of energy, man. You should have seen how long it took us to get on here.
That was bad.
And I got the homie Daniel Munoz, Huero, originally from Vicky's town, from Santa Barbara, San Bruta. How you doing today, brother?
Pretty good. Pretty
Okay.
good.
So I had a couple questions that someone asked, right? They said that they wanted to know one thing, right? Vicky's town was around before there was North and South, right?
Right.
So what were the objectives of Vicky's town in the beginning as far as the game?
In San Jose, it was just, like everybody else. The brothers that came from Boyle Heights, I found out the actual order. So Boyle Heights was the first place it started, then Stockton, and then San Jose, and then Whittier. So that was the order. And there was never a North and South Vickystown in San Jose ever at the same time, or the one that was a Sureño Vickystown had nothing to do with the original Vickystown. And I figured it out. I figured out what happened and how it happened. It was due to the documentaries is why you got a Sureño Vickystown, because they seen Joker and Chino and the rest of them running around yelling East LA in the documentary. So people that had come from Southern California knew the area and then just started claiming that. So that's why that was there. But what happened originally, kind of like the story I told you about why we left Santa Barbara, because my dad was about to get busted for selling drugs. Well, I never cleared it up 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure one or more of the brothers had there was a lot going on at the time in the 70s. There was a lot going down in Boyle Heights. So they caught a couple, I don't know how else to put it. They never got busted for anything, but they put some people down and they didn't want to get caught for it. And there was a lot of heat at the time. A lot of people were going out of town to stay out of trouble for a little while. Yeah. So they were in trouble because some people got killed and they didn't want to go to prison for it. Didn't want to rat on anybody, didn't want to do any of that stuff. So how do you avoid all that? Usually back then, you just go out of town. I mean, like I said, we picked up and we moved from Southern California to Northern California and just came up here and acted like it's a whole fresh start. Well, they did the same thing and came up here. And what it was is the style of the people, at least the gangbangers, down south was very different than what was going on, even as far as like Santa Barbara. LA was very different than Santa Barbara. In Santa Barbara, like in LA, let's just do a quick description of like people, the way they dress would be different. In Santa Barbara, you see a lot of hush puppies and back in the 70s, leisure suits and things like that. The style of dress, whereas you see a little bit more hard, you'll see khakis and Pendletons and things like that. You'd see Pendletons in Santa Barbara too, but you definitely would see, you wouldn't see some of the styles of dress would be a little bit more, street. The further down south you would go. And up here, it was a little bit different. The style was different. Ben Davis was way bigger up here, say, than it was in Southern California, right? Everything's like khakis and wife beaters and things like that. Up here, one of the funny things up here, Thino, he's from Boyle Heights, he used to love the fact, and he used to relish this, that he could run around up here in Northern California and wear overalls. He would wear overalls, right? In Southern California, back then, you didn't want to be wearing no overalls. That was a Northern California thing. you would wear the overalls, but you wouldn't wear them up on top. You'd wear a belt, and then you drop the front of them and drop the back of them,
Yeah,
and
I did
use
too.
overalls like that. And he used to be full of pride because he was from Southern California and he's rocking overalls up here in Northern California, and he knows them homies down there wouldn't like that, and he didn't care. He's like, I can wear these up here because I can do whatever I want up here. This Northern California, believe it or not, for people, the Raza represented freedom. This represented the land of milk and honey. This is Aztlan, right? This is, I said that before, but when I say that, I'm talking about like all the area that our people should be able to roam freely and be safe in. And this place, San Jose and the Bay Area, was like that for people in Southern California trying to get out of the rat race of gang banging and all that other stuff. So you come up here and you're buck wild and free. I mean, you could do whatever you want. So they didn't have no agenda. It's not like, we talked about a few different things, like did they know anybody, have connections? Were they receiving influences from people? No, these were just some brothers that were like psycho gangbangers that were set free in the wild, wild west. That's pretty much what it was. They just wanted to go out, party, and do their thing. Their thing was not to like build an empire or build a gang. They didn't care how big it got, how small it was. We were never trying to like go for numbers or anything like that. That's why pretty much all the Vicky's towns, as far as I know, always been like somewhere like between max sizes anywhere that they've been, as far as I know, somewhere around 50 to 100 guys. That's like the highest end anywhere that they've been.
Yeah.
Right? Generally, the hood is always going to be on average from 12 to 25 guys. That's it. That's as big as it gets generally, because you don't want guys that, can't handle themselves and things like that.
So I got one more question that was asked too by a viewer, man. Being that you're from Santa Barbara, how much influence did the NF have out there at that time? And did you know any of the NF members out there?
I didn't know too much about the whole thing. As a matter of fact, thinking back to that time, I thought it strange because, like I said, I had heard of Babo Sosa and I had heard of the Eme. So I knew of those two things, and I knew Babo Sosa was not the Eme, but I wasn't clear on exactly what it was. I had heard a lot of stuff about it, the Eme, but I hadn't heard too much about the NF. So what I knew of when I was a teen, I didn't know of anything. I found out since then because I've talked to people that I know in Santa Barbara that I've known for years and that my father knows. And I found out, there was a lot more going on there than I knew.
Yeah, there's a lot going there. It was like,
a whole lot. And the strangest thing is, like, my brother-in-law was one of the main dudes that was watching the streets, monitoring the streets, keeping everything straight in Santa Barbara. He was the head dude in the Hoods. The Hoods was a street gang, but they weren't. It's a street gang, but it's not really a street. It was a street gang, but not really a street gang because it was all older guys. Like my older brother was a Hood, and the guy that ran Santa Barbara, as far as like if there was any problems with any gang stuff or whatever going on, any kind of beef in Santa Barbara, this guy Capone, he passed now. He was the one that you were going to eventually have to talk to if you had problems, right? Later on, I think he started going to, before he passed, he had started going to church and stuff, and then he started like a ministry, Hoods in the Woods and things like that. I don't know too much about that. I know my brother was involved in that. So I know that they were a lot more involved there than I knew, but me personally, I didn't know anybody. All I knew was that one name. I find out that there was a lot more involved in that. People that I was around knew people, but I never knew anything. When I was younger, I had no idea.
See the NF at that time, right? And MA, they were less inclined to use gang members, if that makes sense.
Right. And that makes a lot of sense because I never heard anything about anything. Even when I went back multiple times, I never heard anything. And the fact that my brother's married to Capone's sister. I mean, their family, right? And this guy was kind of watching. He was not in the thing, but he was running the streets there, and people that were involved in the thing would check in and make sure everything was running right. That's what I know. I know
Yeah.
he was not in the thing, right?
Okay.
But
Okay.
people in the thing were checking in on him.
So let's take it back to San Jose. Who was Vicky's Town's #1 enemy back then?
I don't even. I'm trying to figure. Okay, when you say it like that, I'm trying to figure enemy. I don't. My personal opinion is we didn't really have an enemy, #1 enemy. If you would say like rival, then I would say Horseshoe, because they were the only ones that we had any thought on our mind as far as like if we went out somewhere or if we were going to get into a hassle with another hood, we didn't care who it was. We just knew that if we were going to hassle with Horseshoe, it's going to be more serious, and we have to really think about what we're doing compared to like if we were on the east side. With what's funny is like so many people are so invested in the east side in San Jose and with Palmas and other hoods on the east side, and I got to keep it 100%. Back in the 70s and early 80s, the east side was like the Wild West. There was no Palmas was nobody was scared of anybody on the east side because it was very different. You could go to the east side and walk all around the east side and you weren't going to get checked by people. You weren't going to get run down. You weren't going to get shot at. You weren't going to get stabbed or any of that stuff unless you got into beef with somebody personally. They weren't checking. In other words, like right now, I'm sure you walk through neighborhoods in the east side, somebody's going to ask you where you're from. But back then, nobody was going to ask you where you're from. The east side's so big and there's so many Latinos, they see you, and it's like that's just another Latino on the east side. Unless you like we would, unless you're wearing a VST on your head, on your belt, or on a jacket, then they don't even know where you're from. And people didn't check you back then. Probably the worst enemy was like us because us meaning really probably if you wanted to have a good time, you hung out with the younger guys, my friends, the guys that were like my homies that were real close. You see them on the banner. The guys that it's Vicky's Town Duke's jacket, you see them, you know, these people are all good. They're not psycho killers. Anytime you went anywhere with Joker or Chino, I wouldn't say Speedy. Tinto was almost never out of prison, so how are you going to say that? I've seen him 2 times in all the time that I was in Vicky's Town. One when I was like 12, and then another time when I was about 15, and he was out for a couple months at most. And he was in there the whole time. I was in there until recently. He got let out because he has Alzheimer's. So they let him out of prison finally, and he's I think he's out in Stockton somewhere. He's the only that's still alive.
So you was originally from Barrio Littletown, right?
Yeah.
That was more by round table, right?
Yeah. And what Littletown, like I said, that's where I got my name and that's where I was. And what happened, we were there for probably a year and a half, and then we moved to Snow Drive. Now, when we moved to Snow Drive, at the same time, Joker and Chino and Speedy and Shorty and all of them moved to Snow Drive, and Pixie and Debbie lived on Snow Drive, and Sleepy lived on Snow Drive, and then a bunch of the homeboys lived either on Snow Drive or around the blocks of Snow Drive or around Great Oaks Park. And that's when I started hanging out with all the dudes from Vicky's Town, because I now lived in the hood, right? And I was from Littletown, but that was never a problem. Nobody ever questioned anything. All the time that my dad had met Tino and Tinto, Tino had been getting at him about getting me into Vicky's Town, and my dad kept telling him, no, nah. So for about a year and a half, he kept going at my dad, trying to get permission from my father to allow me to join Vicky's Town. He was trying to recruit me. Me initially, then later on, my little brother. And my father kept saying no. And then when we moved to Snow Drive, we're right in the hood. It's like it don't make any sense anymore to say no,
Yeah.
because already in the hood, I'm hanging out with these guys. You know, we're gonna go out and get in trouble whether you say it's okay or not, right? But I'm a kid, so kind of like it's a full permission thing because I didn't get permission to join Littletown and I did that, right? So it wasn't like he was really going to give me permission, not give me permission.
Okay, I got some good questions here. Okay, what was initiation like? Number one, right? How did you get in? Number two, how would Pleito kick off? How would San Pedro kick off?
Well, I was jumped into Littletown. Um, and when that happened, I'm trying to remember. I think it was three guys. Three guys jump you in for, I can't remember how, whether it was a minute or 3 minutes or whatever. That was no big thing. When I got jumped in, I was, because I was in Littletown and they were actually trying to recruit me. By the time that my father was like, whatever, I had told Dino, I said, okay, I'll join Vicky's town and my brother will too, but we ain't getting jumped in. You guys already know what it is. So you want us, we're good, we're in. You don't want us, we don't care. So, and then he was all like, good. And he's like, I'm gonna make an exception. You are now drafted. That's what he said. He said you're drafted into Vicky's town. So yeah, and some people might have a problem with that, some might not. It didn't really matter because, I mean, what was that? Like minutes later, we're gonna go and get in fights anyways. It
Yeah.
didn't matter. They already knew I could fight. So that wasn't a big deal. And you know, most of the time that we got into hassles, this is the way it was. Okay, if you were with, like I said, if you were with Joker or you were with Chino, and you're going out, you're likely going to have a fight that night sometime. Likely someone's going to get beat down, stabbed, shot. Something's going to happen most of the time. If you go out with like a lot of my other homies, then you're just going to go out and have a good time. You might get in a fight, you might not, especially with the younger guys because they like to fight. I mean, me and the homies, when I'd say about from the age of about 15 to like 20, all the homies that were within that age range, they actually like to fight a lot. And generally with hands, they didn't want to, you know, if people had weapons, we'd use weapons, but generally it's with the hands, and we just like fighting. So usually it started generally, we go somewhere, and with Joker, it's like that. You look at him too long, you look at him sideways, you look up and down at him. There anything, you touch something of his, you come stand too close to him. You're too loud over there. There's going to be a reason. What you looking?
So okay. Tell us of a couple incidents that happened with some hoods out there in San Jose. Mention the hoods too. So we want to hear this.
Let me give you a little bit of a story and it's not real violent. It is and isn't, but it'll explain to you the different type of time. Even with someone like Joker, Joker's a straight up dude that he wouldn't have a problem killing someone, stabbing someone, beating someone, or any of that. He wouldn't have a problem being shot, stabbed, or anything. He just don't care. So at the time where Southside Gang and Vicky's Town were kind of breaking apart, there were some dudes from Southside. It wasn't called Southside Gang yet, but we were kind of breaking apart. So we were hanging out at the park. I was in a different part, so I didn't see it go down, but I heard what happened. And then the second part, I was there. So Joker's hanging out with these dudes on one side of the park. We hanging out on the other side of the park. He's talking to some guys from down the road in Southside. The guys from Duke of Earl, it was some of their friends. So they're talking, and Joker has a sawed-off shotgun in his hand, and he's swinging it around, and they're just talking bulls, whatever, at the park. And him and this guy get a little bit of a heated conversation, and they're not. It's not going to be a fight or anything, but they're arguing. and Joker and him start going back and forth, arguing, getting louder and louder. Finally, Joker takes the shotgun and he swings it, bam, and he hits the guy in the side of the head with the shotgun. All right, he smacks him in the side of the head because he's getting tired of this guy. So the shotgun goes off at the side of his head. Bam, it blows. Didn't blow off his head or anything, but did get part of his head. So he shot this guy by accident. He didn't mean to do it. He did not mean to do it. If he meant to do it, he would have killed him. He would have just straight up killed him, but he didn't. So I don't even remember what happened after that. I remember hearing the shot, going over there, dude left. Joker was kind of bummed out because he didn't mean to do that. So 2 weeks later, me, my little brother, and Joker had a 59 Biscayne beat up. I think it was a 4-door. No, it was a 2-door, but it was a Biscayne. A 59, though. I'd love to have that car right now, even though it was a Biscayne. So he had a 59, and we're cruising down Center Road, down where these guys hang out. Remember in the video where the house got shot up? Yeah. Like it's a half a block from there, going down that way. We're driving down the road, so we're cruising, and he looks over and he sees like 3 or 4 guys standing on South Side, Center Road. They're standing there, and he says, "Oh, hey, hold on a second." So he tells us to hold on, and he whips a U-turn real quick, and he goes back and he gets out of the car. And then I'm realizing, oh shoot, that's that guy that he shot. And he's with some other guys, and I'm like, this is not going to be good. And I'm wondering, why is he doing this? Why is he going to go over there? And I'm thinking we're about to get into a hassle. So he goes over there, and we all get out, and me and my little brother are like, okay, I guess we're going to go fight these guys. So he gets out and he starts walking over, and that guy is heated already. He sees him get out of the car, and he starts yelling. And Joker's trying to go up to him, and he's trying to explain, hey, I didn't mean to do it. I didn't mean to shoot you. And what the weird thing is, this guy's head is healed up and everything. And this part of his hair where he hit him with the shotgun, his hair turned red. It was weird. Wow. Not blood. It just it changed color. Right there, he had like a streak of red hair. He had like a brownish, blondish hair, but right there it changed color. So from then on, he just had this weird streak of color in his hair. So Joker walks up, and the guy is fuming. The guy is mad, and the guy just starts swinging on him. Okay, and so me and my brother start to move, and Joker says, "No, wait. It's good. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Just wait." And this guy starts swinging on him. Joker gets down in a ball, and he lets this guy pound on him for like, I don't know, 3-4 minutes. I mean, he let him give him everything he got, kick him, hit him, punch him, do whatever. And meanwhile, we're going like, what is this all about? And then Joker pops up, and he's like, all right, we good? And the guy's like, yeah, we good. And then we jump back in the car and we split. So I'm just saying, people used to handle their problems differently. Can you imagine someone doing that nowadays? If you shot someone, you're going to go over there and let that guy beat on you. The guy could have pulled something out and stabbed him or whatever, but he didn't do that. Probably because, of the time we were in. So let's
talk about time errors, man. The gangs really strongly evolved around like the 90s, right? They just went in a whole different direction.
Right.
I think back then in those time errors, correct me if I'm wrong, it was more of a cultural thing, a way to relate in the neighborhood, relate to have friendships and so forth. It's more like a social interaction type of group, right?
Right.
What do you see for the future now with the involvement of gangs and gang activity?
I don't know. It's really weird. I think there are outside forces that are causing changes. And they're things we don't understand, whether it's the prison system, our government, our education system, our science, our medical. A lot of that stuff is just like
control mechanism. It's a control mechanism. You know what I mean?
It's being used to control people. And believe it or not, even this whole thing of like the North, the South, everybody against each other, black, white, black, brown, all these different red, blue,
Well, you
all these
know,
things against each other. I think it's manipulation to keep us all like this, so we
I agree.
don't notice all these billionaires they're all using us like farm animals. We are just tools. We're Crescent Ranches, we're open ends, we're Phillips screwdrivers for them to make their money and live their life. To me, it's crazy. It's like, I think we're being manipulated to kill each other, to keep our numbers down, and to keep us in prison, and to keep us uneducated, and to keep us from succeeding. I mean,
I
and
totally agree.
and it takes a lot. I mean, for me, it's taken a miracle from my father above. I'm an uneducated man. I don't have a high school diploma, but listen to this. I don't have a high school diploma. I have a GED, but I own over $1 million home. I have 2 classic cars in my driveway. I own my own business. I work about 4 hours. I work about 4 days a week, 4 hours a day, and I make the income of what somebody, working 60 to 80 hours a week could make. I could make a lot. I could be making millions, but I'm not, because I don't want to. That's just me. Some people who are into money, in my place, they would be making probably $250,000 a year right now and still have a bunch of time off, right? So it's possible if you listen to the right voices. Society's voices aren't the right voices. The Father above, he has the right voice. That's why, even though I was involved in gangs, drugs, my whole mentality about what sex is, my whole mentality about what relationships are and things like that were twisted from a very early age, very, very, very early age. Before I even knew what sex was about, it had already been messed up in my head. Same thing with my wife. We don't have any kids, in part because of all that situation. My wife went through a lot. I mean, a lot. There are people that basically, to some extent, damaged my marriage years before I ever got married, right? And these are all part of the things that I'm saying are the things that society does to people, right?
Yeah.
So
I seen that, like, with when all this stuff happened a couple of years ago, with all the police brutality and all the marches and all that and everything, man. I just seen that totally as, like, that to me was a tool right there. You know what I'm saying? For political reasons, political aspirations and stuff. Let's push this narrative. Let's keep everybody separated.
yeah,
Because
for sure.
I'm looking at everything, right? Whether they were on this side of the aisle or this side of the aisle, I think both sides almost have the same type of ideologies and agreement. They want the same things, but let's keep them opposed from each other. You know what
That's
I'm
why
saying?
I'm no longer in
You
a
know?
political party. I'm like, if I
Exactly.
was a Democrat, I would have Lexit. I'm straight up Lexit. I'm 100% Lexit. I'm like, get out of both parties. If all of Latinos, check out, there's a lot of Latinos in the United States. If all of us get out of both parties, you can, if you want, go to the Republican Party. I don't have a problem with it, but whatever. I definitely ain't gonna be a Democrat, because I'm not all about that stuff. That's not in my whole
Yeah,
family.
yeah, because people don't realize
Democrat.
that party right there is almost, they're trying to bring a socialist type of order to the communities, to where you have to rely upon them. I like to be
Well,
independent and rely upon myself, not the
seriously,
government.
they want you to think that, but that's
Yeah,
not what
exactly.
they're doing. It's not a socialist agenda. It really isn't. It's a Marxist agenda.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean.
Obama said in one of his books that he was a Marxist, right? And remember, when he left office, there was video of him saying, if I could have a third term sitting in the basement in my pajamas and have somebody out front, I would do it. Well, what do you think's going on right now? Hopefully that don't get you in trouble.
Ow. You know what I mean? I look at them as two sides of the same coin almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
and it's just a way to cause division and so forth. And I mean, there's some major issues on without going into politics. There's some major issues that I get. People have difference of opinions, but if you go back to just the basic stuff, man, there's a lot of agreement that people agree on things, man.
Like I said, if Latinos, if we can all leave the parties, then what are we? We're a whole giant group of people that need to be explained how and why we should vote for you. Right now,
I think more people need to reject this two-party system, and a third party needs to evolve. I've been saying that the whole time, and the only way for a third party to really evolve is if you reject those first two. You know what I mean?
No party. How about you earn my vote every year?
Hey, like I tell people, politicians are basically, this is their career. This is what they do for a living. Right. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to do anything that they can to elevate their status to where they can make more money. Whether if it's to feed you a bone here and there or push this narrative, they're going to go with that because it's basically it's a job. I mean, very few people care about the communities, man, that they're really trying to make an impact. And sometimes they maybe in the beginning they do, but it's so easy for them to be poisoned or tainted or just, you know what I mean, misguided, and they just go with the flow.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like we don't really have a strong, like, when's the last time you've seen any type of strong Hispanic, Latino leaders out there in the community? When?
They don't. I mean, it's all about the parties. So who they gonna let be out there? That's what it is.
That's why I don't like. That's why I don't like it. Yeah.
If you're independent, you could do whatever you want.
well, that's where some groups they mess up, right? They start a good little movement. They start a little organization, charity, nonprofit, right? And as soon as they let politics get involved, it fucks everything up, man. You know what I'm saying? Keep that shit away. Keep whatever you're pushing out there in the community. Keep that shit away from politics. Don't get that political influence. We don't have no Cesar Chavez or, I mean, any of those type of charismatic, leaders. Regardless of what you people think about Cesar Chavez, he did push for a lot of things, man. But there's been other leaders along the way too that have been there, man. And it just seems like every time there's someone that's about to either push the issue or try to change the narrative, it seems like someone comes and just let's go suppress them real quick and keep them shut.
Yeah. True.
Now you were a Brown Beret too?
No, I was in the youth getting together. Basically, the guys with the black berets, youth getting together, Barrios Unidos, black berets. Brown berets were, by the time I was involved in that kind of stuff, there was no Brown berets anymore. I was told though the black berets were older than the Brown berets. I don't know. I know I was in that Barrios Unidos youth getting together. We had marches and things like that. I remember sitting over at Joker and Tino's house with a button machine making Barrios Unidos buttons all day for a big march we were going to have. As a matter of fact, somebody posted it on Gente de San Jose, the IG. Somebody posted a picture of that march, and that was the same day that I remember being. That night, we marched in front of the police department in San Jose, and we were on the news and stuff.
Well, you had a lot of stuff going on. You had that police chief that got killed in Dakota around that time.
Really?
Yeah, San Francisco had some issues, man. It was a really radical time. If you think about it, the Bay Area has always been a movement for all those radical movements to, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, when I first moved to, I found out it was 77. That was the year I moved to San Jose, not 76. 76 was the year the Freedom Train came around, and it came through Santa Barbara. And I got on the Freedom Train. It only comes around every 100 years. In 1976, it came to Santa Barbara. It's a train that has an escalator in the middle of it, and it has history. It's a museum. It's called Freedom Train. Comes around every 100 years. You could see like Abraham Lincoln's hat, supposed boots of astronauts that walked on the moon. We never walked on the moon because we've never been to the moon. Just so you know that. That's all lies. But you would see things like that. I think they had like Wilt Chamberlain's tennis shoes a bunch of different crazy things. So I remember seeing that. So I had to have been in Santa Barbara in 76. In 77, we moved to San Jose then. And that's when Lowrider Magazine started. I moved there and Lowrider Magazine started same year.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try to wrap this up, but I want to ask you a question, right? Do you want to come on a live one night with us, with me?
Oh, sure, no problem.
So the viewers could ask live questions. Okay, well, before we close out the interview, I like to keep it about 40 minutes usually. Let's talk about your other channels though. Have they grown at all in numbers?
I haven't been paying too much attention to them, but they've grown a little bit, but not too much. I haven't been monitoring. I probably added like 10, 20, something like that. Especially on the just some guys.
You got to get those numbers up for them, man.
Wow. Just so everybody knows, I'm going to start doing videos on my site. I'm going to try to avoid doing live videos because you guys, since I'm not doing it for a financial situation. I own my own company, have my own home. You know what I mean? Financially, I'm okay. So I'm going to make sure to try not to interrupt your guys' live streams because you financially, you guys do okay in the live streams and stuff from what I've noticed. So I'm going to try to do pre-recorded stories. And then I'm also going to be doing some teaching, some biblical teaching and other things like that. Also some paranormal stuff, because a lot of things that happen in the paranormal realm have to do with the spiritual realm in the biblical sense. So I'm going to teach people. I'm actually going to go through a lot of these. If you ever seen Paranormal Caught on Tape, I'm going to do a lot of, not necessarily reaction, but I'm going to do teaching from those videos to show you what is real and what is not real in the spiritual realm. So that's one thing that I'm going to do on that. I may make a separate one. My car thing, I haven't been going to much events lately, but I'm going to start going again. I have 2 cars in the driveway, and the one in front needs to be fixed before I can move the other car. So I just need to.
So yeah, you're a busy man though, man. So you got your business. Okay, these are things that change, man. How old were you when you decided to change your life?
Well, check this out. It's really weird. I was looking back. The first time we did the first interview we did, dude, I couldn't sleep for like 2 days. I was thinking about my whole life. I hadn't thought about a lot of that stuff in many years. And I started really thinking about my life. And I go back to like where I think my Father in heaven has been working with me since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I'm looking back at situations. I've never been shot. I've never been stabbed. You know, I've had my head busted, and you know, I've been hurt. I've never had a broken bone. And I've been where bullets are flying and knives are being wielded and people are trying to stab me. You know, but I haven't had any of this stuff. I've had some type of miracle protection. And like I said, I'm not educated, but I own $1 million home. I own 2 classic cars. I own my own company. I work part-time and make the money of somebody that works full-time. Any need that I have gets taken care of. You know, it's I think to give you a solid date, as far as when I was 20, 21, 22, I think it was 22, I moved from San Jose to San Francisco with my cousin. And that's basically where you can say it started. And for a lot of people that want to get out of the lifestyle that they're in, they don't want to keep going back to prison, they don't want to get in trouble and all this stuff. Sometimes it's going to take that. When I left, when I was involved in ministries in San Francisco, after I left the hood, I started going to church and stuff. Basically, I had left the hood because I was on my way to 3 years in prison the next time I got arrested. Okay. Right. So during the videos, the documentary stuff, that was in 81. So from 80 to like 82, in that time frame, I got 4 driving under the influences in 2 years. So
you're in that video too, huh?
Right. Yeah. I'm in the video.
Yeah.
I got a little clip that I'll show sometime that just shows me in the video. I'm only in one section, in one like 3-second clip or something like that, because I didn't even know I was in that clip, and I didn't want to be in any clips. I wasn't trying to be on the news. I wasn't trying to get known and being seen by people. That's not what I was doing. To tell you the truth, that documentary is what caused a Sureño Vickystown, in my opinion. And that documentary, after we did that documentary, there was no peace for us in Northern California at all. We would go to Daly City and have a problem. We'd go to San Francisco and have a problem. We'd go to Story and King and have a problem. We go to Story and King. We're walking into the 7-Eleven on Story and King. My little brother's wearing a bandana that says VST. And there's like a dozen dudes on the side, bunch of dudes from Sacramento and some dudes from Palmas, like 3-4 dudes from Palmas, and the rest were from Sacramento, all hanging out around the 7-Eleven. So they see the VST, and right away they start shooting their mouths off. So it starts to go down, and it's like me, my little brother, my older sister, and Joker. That's it, just us 4. And there's like 12 or so dudes. This is right on Story and King, right in front of everybody, where everybody's cruising and everything. And it was crazy because, like, Joker has a trench coat on. He got a 22. The rest of us got nothing. So we start arguing, going back and forth with these guys. Pretty soon we start fighting, and it just, there's so many of them that we just kind of dispersed in them, and a few of them dragged off Joker over here, and my sister and my brother were in a ball of them, and I'm over here fighting with someone, and I'm trying to get out of this fight to go over there and help my little brother and my sister. So I fight this guy off. I run over there. The next thing I know, my little brother, bam, he's on the ground. He's got bloody nose, but he was drunk. He's on the ground. He got a bloody nose. The guy that had knocked him down, I grabbed him. I spun him around. He ran away. Then I ran over to my sister, and right as I'm getting there, some dude had broken a bottle on the ground. He like jammed her in her arm with the bottle, cut her arm up with a broken wine bottle or something like that. So again, I run over there and I grab that guy and I spun him around, and then I look, and for some reason, it's weird. Like I'm saying, I think I've had protection for many, many years. It's like, why isn't somebody stabbing me or hitting me or punching me or anything all this time? Like, I'm fighting people off easy. I'm spinning around, pushing people, throwing people around. Then I run over to where Joker is. So my sister and my brother start heading to the car. I told them, go get in the car, and I'm going to go get Joker. 4 guys got Joker up against the wall on the side of the 7-Eleven, right in Story and King. About 50, 60 feet, there's a cop car sitting there watching the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
2 in the car. They're not doing a damn thing, right? So they're not doing anything, not getting out of the car, not doing anything. And Joker's got a 22. He pulls his 22 out. Then he realizes there's a cop sitting right there. I can't shoot these guys, right? They all got knives. So he's got a big old trench coat on. He's got his 22. He drops it back in his coat pocket. And then I start seeing them doing this. Whack, 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 whack. All 4 of them standing around him. I'm like, you know what? He dead. I'm about to go and get the car, and he's about to go. Because I'm like, he's dead. He is dead. I don't see no blood, but he is dead. 4 guys are on him, and they are stabbing him up. So I'm like, he's dead. I'm not going over there and going to die with him. I'm going over here and make sure my sister's bleeding. She got stabbed in the arm. My brother's got a bloody nose. I run over to the car, and as I'm trying to get into the back seat of the car, because my brother's back there and my sister's in the front, this guy runs around, and I kind of like see him coming, so I dive in the window because he got a knife. I think he was one of the dudes that was supposedly stabbing Joker. So he comes over and he starts trying to stab me in my gut. And this is why I'm like saying either people are stupid or I've got a divine protection on me. Because he's trying to stab me, and I'm laying in the back seat, like my brother's over here, in the back seat, kicking him. Why isn't he stabbing my legs? Why doesn't he just stab me in the legs? Then I won't kick it. So I'm kicking him. He's trying to stab me in my gut. I think he ain't got no real heart. If he can reach, he'll stab me, but he's not going out of his way. So next thing I know, Joker's getting in the car. And I'm like seeing a ghost. It turns out Joker's trench coat protected him from he didn't get stabbed once. Not
Oh,
one
wow.
time. How do these four guys stand around him and they're stabbing him? He thought he was dead. He thought he was stabbed. He could not find a stab wound on him. So, and there were no holes in the coat, but the coat protected him from being stabbed. We all get in the car and we all leave. We had to wind up taking my sister to the hospital later that night, though, because she got gangrene from the bottle.
Okay.
So, stuff like that. After the documentary, everywhere we went, stuff like that would happen. Constantly, everywhere. Everybody wanted a piece. And we all, advertising. We had bandanas with VST. We had jackets. We had everything. We rocked VST. We were
Flying your colors.
Yeah, all over the east side. We hung out on the. And there's another a video on the documentary page that's from 1979 that I'm going to do a little explanation about. In that video, if you listen to the very beginning of it, it says the guy's talking to this group of gang intervention people, and he's saying there's a Vickystown on the east side and there's a Vickystown on the south side. And that is not true, and that is also true back in the 70s. Now, in the 70s, in about 79, 78, 79, even going back to 77, 77, 78, 79, but right around when the split happened, kind of like that, there went the east side. Initially, there was a whole bunch of homies that lived not too far from Story and King. Behind all that mess, a bunch of dudes from Vickystown lived there, but didn't claim that as a hood. They claimed South Side like we did.
Makes sense.
But on the east side. So people that were in gang intervention thought there was a Vickystown on both sides. So if we wanted to brag and say that, oh, we're badasses, yeah, we had a Vickystown on the east side and the south side, but none of us said that because it's like we weren't trying to, as they say nowadays, clout chase. We didn't care.
All right, well, man, it's been a pleasure, man. I'm gonna have you on a live. I'm gonna talk to you probably tonight. Get in the comments, and I'm pretty sure the subscribers are gonna want to ask you some questions, man. Your last interview rocked. This one rocked. This was a good interview as well, man. Hope you have a positive one.
I get a little bit lost with this stuff because I haven't thought about a lot of these things for years, and things come up, and I start learning things. I actually have people going out trying to get some history on Stockton because Stockton's very complicated. Even people that were in Vickystown and Stockton don't know a lot about the history. I can tell you this. At one time in Stockton, check this out. At one time in Stockton, this is a fact, 100%. 4 Vickystowns in Stockton at one time. 4 Vickystown and Stocktons. 2 heavily at war with each other. 1 northern, 1 southern.
Well,
fact.
We're gonna get to that. Maybe next time we have you on, we're going to talk about that.
No problem.
All right, guys, man. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, check out his channels, man. Everybody have a good one.